is the united, indissoluble, and cohesive Nigeria which guarantees equity, fairness, justice, and prosperity for its citizens. That is our focus on people, politics, and power. It is fresh, insightful, impactful. It's a must-watch. People, politics, and power on AIT. Join us to build bridges of unity.
Thank you so much, and Mallam Bolaji Abdullahi is right in the studio. For those who want to be reminded, or should be reminded, Bolaji Abdullahi is not just a media practitioner, he's a journalist. But they say when a journalist goes into politics, so much is mixed up. But we always also know that so many persons have gone into politics and they had a head high up there, not just representing those they currently represent in power, they also represent the institution of the media. He was in the immediate past minister, but he was a minister under another political party, but he's here now. He's the spokesperson of the All Progressives Congress, and we know that he has a lot to tell us about political party and how we can indeed get the parties to function effectively. Now, thank you once again for joining us. Let's first of all ask you the general background to political party system in Nigeria, particularly from 1999 till now. What are your observations?
I think 1999 was a remarkable departure in the history of politics or political party in Nigeria. Given the experience that politicians had in the First Republic, if you remember, in the First Republic, the political parties were mainly regional-based political parties, whether it's the MPN, which was generally regarded as party of the Northerners,
or the PRP,
or the PRP, or UPN, or MPP, that was regarded as a party of the Easterners. But in 1999, we had the PDP that was deliberately designed, to be a national party at the time. But again, because of the so many years we've had of military intervention, our political parties still remain as stunted as they have not matured. They have not attained the level of maturity they ordinarily should have attained, given the many years that we have had independence and begin to practice democratic politics. So I think we have made a lot of progress since 1999. There's still a lot of way to go. I think it will still take us many years to overcome the pathologies, as it were, of military intervention in politics. So I think when we arrive at that destination, then you will see political parties that are robust enough to truly play the role, the normative role that political parties should play in the context of party politics.
Now let's look at the institutions of political party, because we have talked about individuals, institutions. Those who look at the political party system, in the times you talked about during the days of the Awolowo of blessed memory, Nadia Azikiwe, and of those who were actually running the NPN and the northern parties that had roots in the north. They were actually parties that were having strong individuals, strong personalities, but who were able to allow the strength of the programs of the party to run without too much of overbearing. But what we have now is different.
Yes.
You cannot really talk about individuals. If you take a look at the PDP, for instance, because the PDP is older than
APC. Yes.
You take a look at the PDP. PDP has never had one strong individual. You say this is the person that the whole thing revolves around. They have had pockets of powers at different times. The president, those who are. What has been the problem? If you take a look at the AD, then you see that came into AC and then the APC, we also still have that problem. You cannot say this is an individual, an institution that revolve around an individual like we saw during the First and Second Republic.
Yes.
So this movement, this evolution, where is it going?
I think I'm glad you used the word evolution, because it's like we are moving away from strongman politics to political parties that is based or rooted in mass movements, in membership, rather than revolving around one individual or organized to drive the individual ambition of the political leader. I don't think we are likely to see those kind of political parties anymore. Don't forget that the struggle for independence threw up this strong individuals.
Yes.
So post-colonialism, they were framed as the inheritors of power from the colonial rule, from colonial operators. So the whistle to transfer power to citizens, Nigerian citizens or national citizens across Africa, means that these people who championed the struggle for independence naturally saw themselves as the inheritors of power, and therefore built political organizations around themselves, whether it's Obafemi Awolowo or Nnamdi Azikiwe or Kwame Nkrumah or Mugabe or Sekou Toure, all across Africa. Now, I think the experience we had with military rule, especially the Babangida transition program, he made deliberate effort, to ensure that political parties emerged that were organic to the society rather than emerging from individuals. And that was why they created the NRC, SDP. Yeah. I think that was a turning point. Whether that experiment succeeded or not depends on interpretation. But I think that was a turning point for us in moving towards political parties that were no longer anchored on the big man, and so as you can see, even at the moment, like you said, PDP, you could not say this is one individual around which it was built. And our own political party, the APC, the same thing applies. So, and you can look at all the other political parties. You can't really say that these are political parties that are anchored on an individual's ambition. I think it's good.
We even have an example in ABGA. You remember when Chekwa Sokore formed ABGA, it was like he wanted to replicate what happened in the first and second republic. Let me build a party. But Victor Ume and his said, you cannot own the party, and the man was chased, literally chased
out of the party he himself. So that's why I say we are moved away from that. You are not likely to see it again. That even few people who come together to form political parties, you see that the moment they settle in, other people that they invited in begin to demand certain basic minimum standards of behavior organizing of political parties. Because everybody is now more conscious, more aware, and they understand the essence of democracy, which is based on consensus of so many other interest constituencies. So I don't think any political parties can survive now that is based or built around individual. I think it's good for democracy.
Yeah, there was an advantage to the big individuals, the strong individuals.
Yes.
And one of them you can take away was what people perceive or see as party discipline. They were actually individual discipline.
Yes.
They would say, woe betide you if you came across the track of Obafemi Awolowo.
Yes.
You were just going to be a gunner. I can remember in those days, even during the early days of democratic formation during the SDP and when those things that threw up the early party formation, particularly in Lagos, there was that element. Persons who became governors literally wielded power when they left office.
Yes.
Now, the advantage then, people say, was that one of the advantages was that there was discipline in the party.
Yes.
They knew where the power was.
Yes.
But what we have now is we cannot have that kind of discipline we talk about.
Yes.
So pockets of power, people seize power within the political party. During nomination, they allocate what is going to happen. This evolution that is trading has led to where we call what we now call the absence of internal democracy in the political parties, not just one political party. How did we arrive there, and how do we move away from there?
I actually think that the reverse is the case. I think you are more likely to experience internal democracy when you have a political party that is not dominated by an individual than you used to have in the past when you have political parties. It's the same conundrum for African countries, many African countries. Where you had one party rule, you have relative stability. Like in Cote d'Ivoire for many years, and you have relative stability when you have individual strongmen who were in charge of the countries for many years. Whereas if you come to West Africa, where we never had such strong individuals, Nigeria, where we never had such strong individuals who remained in power for so many years, then you say we have instability.
Yes.
So political theorists will tell you that sometimes it does appear that the choice that we have is between having something related to close to dictatorship and have stability, and something close to democracy
and
have instability or chaos. I think it's the same thing applies to political parties. If you look at the political parties you mentioned, say UPN, for example, Awolowo was not the leader of UPN because he was the oldest, or because he was the richest, or he was because, but he was able to mobilize around a vision, a long-term vision,
yes,
and he was able to build a consensus around that, you know, and set the basic ground norms. You know, even then he was experiencing his own challenges within the context of whether it's Action Group or UPN. But if you look back, if perchance, maybe like when it happened in 1987 and Chief Obafemi Awolowo died, you can see that since then, there has not been a similar political party coming from the Southwest.
Or an individual,
exactly,
yeah.
Because everything depended on that one individual, despite the philosophy that he was able to build around, whether the Action Group or the UPN, as the case may be. So I think it's a positive thing to have political parties that are not built around an individual, because
in spite of the seeming
chaos, you understand? Because in the end, they stand better chance of surviving in the long term than when the party was built around an individual. You see, what you call chaos is the nature of democracy. People call me and say, oh, why do you people have problems all over the place? You have people fighting in your many states and all that. I will say, look, it's the nature of democracy. Political parties exist to aggregate interests and ensure that the systems do not collapse, right? Whether it's PDP or APC or any other political party, the reason you have political parties is that individuals who are interested in political power can funnel their ambition through the disciplined channel of a political party. So contentions will happen. People will have issues because we have different interests.
Should we have a bridge? Should we have a bridge? I remember that in 2015, when Muhammadu Buhari, our president, was sworn in, many people expected that the president was going to take on the leadership of the party, carry on with some measure of, if I say dictatorial things, it may not be far from him, but they expected that he was going to pull everybody together. You know how Bukola Saraki emerged as the president of the Senate. Everybody expected that the president would have called the National Assembly members and the party leaders and said, this is what we want, this is how we are going to go. But unfortunately, the party was not able, as it were, to take that position that was expected from the president. Yes. The president thought the party should play the role. Yeah. The party leaders expected that the president should play the role, and APC was left flying without wings. Yes. And it was just going to land anywhere, and that's where we are still now. For the last 2 years or thereabout, APC has not been able to hold any meaningful meeting. And it's a flow from the absence of a cohesive leadership. How did APC also get to this level?
I mean, your observations are largely correct, you know, to the extent that, you know, if you look at the formation of political parties, don't forget that APC was formed in 2013. Yes. And shortly after
there was an election.
There was an election, then we came into power, right? If you go back to 1999, if you recall the first 4 years of Obasanjo's administration in 1999, yes, if you recall all the trouble, all the turbulence that happened within that period, how many Senate presidents did we have? Yeah. You understand? We had like 5 Senate presidents. So every single day you hear one crisis or the other, one person battling the other person, state executive committees being sacked, you know, another group being dissolved, and it was sheer anarchy. But by 2007, right, when President Obasanjo finished his tenure and President Yar'Adua came in, PDP had opportunity of 8 years to correct some of these natural tension that arise when you're trying to establish a new political party. What happened was that APC did not have that opportunity. We formed a political party. The various tendencies are still struggling.
Yeah, because of from the basis of those that came up to form the party.
You understand? So you had the various tendencies were still trying to blend into one formidable political party. You see, this is never an easy thing to do, right? So, but when you find, even up to now within the PDP, you see what happened after they lost the election. It's like all the primordial alignments, just resurfaced all over again. But we had a situation where we were trying to still build APC into that unified, strong, cohesive political party, and at the same time grappling with the issues of running the government. So we never had the kind of opportunities that the
PDP had at that time.
So and within 2 years, people expect us to have overcome all the teething problems. It's not likely to happen. So all these issues will continue to happen, but we will continue to deal with them, because that is why we exist as a political party. It's like a country as well. We have a country like Nigeria, has been existing since 1960 as an independence country. So, but you find that the various ethnic groups, up to today, we are still agitating. How does my interest get taken care of within the context
marginalization cries?
Marginalization cries, even within the larger context of the country, you see. So everybody is saying, yes, we are a country now. We are Nigeria. We are citizens of Nigeria. But how do I give expression to my own citizenship as an Igbo man? How do I give expression to my citizenship as a Hausa or Kanuri man or Tiv man? Those questions are still relevant and are still going on up till this day. So it's the same thing that happens within a political party. While we recognize that we are members of the same political party, those primordials and separatist interests will continue to
fester at some level.
At various levels. But you will see that when you have a political party that is robust enough, we will continue to muddle through, deal with these issues as they arise, and continue to improve on the system. So the issue of the convention that you mentioned, yes, we ought to have.
Is it just the convention? Even meetings of the parties?
Yeah, it's been difficult.
Yeah, difficult to hold.
But you see, there are so many other issues and all that. But when people come and say, "Oh, we have different factions within APC," and people even mention those factions. We within the party know it's not true. It's just people presuming that they are factions, because
there are voids that need to be placed, and people want to follow up what's happening.
Exactly. Yeah. Like one of our party leaders said some days ago, there are issues that we need to address, and we are going to address them.
Well, of course, what we have had now, unfortunately, my brother, is that we have had a party that is dealing with these challenges. And so they are not able to even hold on to the government. I mean, as a party, to say, this government, various state governments that were elected under the platform of the party, the federal government, they seem to be like, our house is not in order. How do we even get those who are elected to go on? So the president was ill and he went away. Everybody started to wait. What is going to happen? The president should come as a strong institution to come and fill the void. The APC is just like in disarray. That is how it appears.
Well, if we appear to have been in disarray, I can tell you we are not in disarray. And the reason I say that is that you will recall that over the last couple of months, we had issues with the National Assembly.
Yes.
Yeah, the issue of National Assembly in their relationship with the executive arm of government. And people said, why hasn't the party moved in to resolve this conflict between the executive and the legislature?
It got complicated because it's a legal matter.
Yeah, that is dominated by
the APC.
You see, but our own position is, look, the kind of democracy we practice actually requires a level of tension between the executive and the legislature. Right? And the principle of separation of power presumes that
checks and balances.
Yeah, the checks and balances. There will be a level of benign tension between the executive and the legislature,
irrespective of whichever
party is in government. So we recognize that, and that's why you see that we allow this to. But at the point that we realize that this is going beyond the acceptable levels, the NWC had to move in, and that's why we quickly had to meet with the National Assembly and consulted with the executive. And you can see that things have stabilized. Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay. Some people say it is the stability, the peace you kind of find around the graveyard, a lot of tension, volcano boiling under, and they're just trying to paper the cracks. But it's time to really interface with another political organization in the course of the discussion on this program. We'll have to allow Bolaji Abdullahi, the spokesperson, the National Public Secretary of the APC, to have some respite while we give you the Coalition for New Nigeria, CNN, as they make bare how to make the polity a better place. Let's take some sound bites.
Whereas CNN is committed to unity, indivisibility, and progress of Nigeria, there is no doubting the fact that Nigeria of today is witnessing governmental policy somersault, arrested representative government, rule of might, reign of godfatherism, imperative abuse of public trust and office, Stone Age acquisition of wealth or primitive acquisition of wealth, violation of civil and ethical codes, and most sacrilegiously, the use of God's name to achieve imperial power. Our country had therefore come to symbolize what George Bernard Shaw must have had in mind when he wrote, our laws make all laws impossible. Our liberty destroy all freedom. Our property is organized robbery. Our wisdom is administered by experienced dupes. Our honor is false in all points. To this effect, our people have been oppressed, intimidated, and shortchanged. As almost every sport in Nigeria has been run by intimidation, oppression, kidnapping, and robbery. These are indeed the times that try men's souls, and in precarious situations like this, the fair weather citizen, doubting Thomases, bystanders, and cynics will shrink from service to fatherland. The stage at which we are now is that peculiar period comes to a country but once. Posterity will affect by our effort to reinvent Nigeria. As we beckon on all well-meaning and concerned citizens of our country to put our hands together to cure the many ills currently facing our country and help ensure that unity, progress, peace, equity, and justice are brought back to our land.
Thanks for staying with us on Africa Independent Television. We are still on your program, People's Politics and Power, and we have the National Publicity Secretary of the ruling APC, Mallam Bolaji Abdullahi, as our guest in the studio, and we are examining the party formation, the role of political parties in Nigeria, and how we can go forward. Now let's zero in properly now into the APC and look at the last conference, the last delegates conference, and what you try to do to build up the power base from a lot of crisis. Almost everybody is complaining from the state. In fact, just a few days ago, the party inaugurated a committee to resolve some of the crises in some of the states, Kogi, and try to find out how to resolve some of the party. What are you trying to really do to get all the members of the APC on board? I ask this question against the background that I know, and I know you know, that so many APC members are not happy with the government. They believe that the party they fought well hard to bring together has not given them the dividends of democracy. And the president has not hidden the fact that he does not want to bring out government money to fund the APC. So how are you trying to get the people to own the party, take possession of it, contribute money to run the party, such that we don't look to the government? Because as it is, President Muhammadu Buhari has said he's not going to bring out money to run the party. How is APC surviving under this atmosphere?
I mean, I must admit that it's been a bit difficult. It's a bit challenging, you know, because it's a new thing, you know.
Yes.
But when we signed up for change,
many people didn't understand the meaning.
Yes, I mean that's what we signed up for, and we must recognize that change comes with sacrifices. is not always very easy. It's not, say, right in the park. So it's going to be a bit difficult. But it also challenges us to tap into the inner core of our creativity. And that's why you find what we are doing now, developing a platform to get membership subscription dues paid.
How many members do we have in the APC? Do we even have a data to say this is the number of people who are subscribed as members of the party?
We don't have a data. I don't have it now, but we do have a data. We have a data center, and we have, you see, every political party will always have more supporters than party members, But what we're trying to do now is to authenticate the list of those who are card-carrying members of the party.
Who subscribe to
the party. So once we are able to roll out this system, it's an online platform. Once we are able to roll it out, then you find that members will log in, register, and those who are outside that the internet coverage will have an alternative system to bring them in. So you find that members will now pay their dues, and from the dues alone, if we have 1 million members, for example,
even paying as low as 100 naira.
Understand? So and thereabout, and it's an online platform that we are working on, so that people can use their mobile phones and all that. So what we are going through now, we recognize it is difficult, but we recognize that it's a temporary thing, and it's going to last it's going to last as far as we are able to get this system sorted and running. So once we are able to do that, we'll overcome some of these challenges that we have. You see, when President Muhammadu Buhari said he was not going to fund political parties, of course party members will not be happy because we're not used to that, right? We all come from different backgrounds, so we're not used to that. Now we have political parties, but you recognize that he is not saying anything new. It's the same thing that he subscribed to in 1983. In 1983, as a military head of state, some of the politicians in the Second Republic that were punished because they used government money to fund political parties. So I think he will recognize what will be an obvious contradiction, in his position.
If you were to lend credence to,
you understand,
using
we are on the receiving end, but we respect that and we recognize the need for us to subscribe to the philosophy of our own party, which is to do things differently from the way it used to be done. So we'll continue to, we believe very strongly that it's only a matter of time. The only thing I can plead is for members to be patient, to recognize that we campaigned on the basis of change. If we were to do things the way the political parties in the past were doing things, then we'll probably have no need to be here. So because we have subscribed to do things differently, then it will come with prices that we have to pay. But we'll continue. It's a challenge to us. With every difficulties, opportunities also abound.
Can we sustain it? I'm just envisaging a situation where President Muhammadu Buhari is out of the way with the kind of belief system that he has. He can take pressure. He can stand his ground and say, I will not do it. I can imagine the amount of pressure that is on him. Can we sustain it, assuming the president is off the way? Would we have institutional framework that will sustain this? Don't bring money from government to run a party. How fast are we going with this idea of subscription? And how much do we really expect? How much budgetary how much revenue do we really expect? How much does the party really need to spend? And how are you galvanizing to be sure that this spirit that is germinating in APC go to all the other parties? I mean, it festers well and it grows, and everybody will now begin to say, if you want to belong to a political party, you must subscribe to it. You must be able to contribute monthly or annually to the party. Can we sustain it?
I believe it's sustainable. It's difficult, but it's sustainable. I mean, it's not anything new that we're introducing. Most of the political parties in the First Republic, at least I know that of the UPN, were largely run also on membership subscription. So I think one of the things that we also need, once we get these systems right and the system yield the kind of dividends that we expect it to yield, I think members, because look, following this path is not just about taking care of immediate needs. It also, as members of the NWC, we want to be able to show that the party is supreme, not only in words, but also in deed. You cannot maintain the level of independence that the political party needs if you continue to go cap in hand,
begging
for money from government, right? Because like you said, if we have issues within our particular state, maybe two of our political leaders, maybe a governor and his minister from the state, or a senator and a governor having issues, we at the NWC will probably be limited in our ability to maintain neutrality
if the governor is the one funding.
So, I mean, and we know that if we withdraw his funding, we are going to be in trouble. So it is in our interest to ensure that this system works, and it's not just for APC. You see, we cannot grow real political parties that are able to impose their authority within the political environment as long as their survival, their financial survival, is not based on the subscription of membership.
It's not spread across.
It's not spread across in a way that every member is equally entitled.
The only challenge when I say I would not envy the party or envy those of you at the NWC is that I wonder how you are going to get the parties to subscribe, because party members are angry, they are hungry, they are not happy with the party, and you want to ask them to subscribe?
It's difficult, but you see, it's not a lot of money. It's like you said, 50 naira, 100 naira. You see, but even as little as that money is, for you to dip your hand in your pocket and say, look, I'm remitting this money to the political party, there has to be an incentive.
Yes.
And that incentive is that you believe that as a member of political parties, as a member of a particular political party,
you have a say, your vote is important.
Your vote is important, and your voice is important. You know, that you can attend ward meeting, you know, and actually contribute to the debate. And when it comes to voting at a Congress, at the ward level, at the local government, you can actually cast your vote and determine what happens.
Yes.
I think that is very important. That's a great incentive. So you find that at a period in our history when one big man can sit in one corner of the room and write results of congresses will no longer happen. So it's a journey. And it's a long journey.
Okay, let's go to governance now, because the APC is in government. Now we have had the altercation or exchanges between Nigerians as represented by the opposition political parties, the PDP and the APC, on what to do with Nigeria. It does appear that we all know that something is wrong. Yes. Even the government knows something is wrong. Mm-hmm. If you ask President Muhammadu Buhari today, he knows something is wrong.
Yes.
It is how to go around this, something that is wrong, everybody is looking at. Some say restructuring, devolution of powers. But you came up with a suggestion during the campaign. Mm-hmm. Now when you come into power, in fact it's number one on your manifesto, you're going to devolve power and get it down. Unfortunately, 2 years running, APC is not found to be leading in this regard. You are under heavy criticism that the APC is abandoning the coast, they are abandoning the boat to wander about, and everybody is debating. Threats everywhere, and it does appear that we really need to put our finger on a solution urgently.
I think your information that APC is not leading this conversation about restructuring is not exactly correct. A couple of weeks ago, we set up a committee, you know, under the chairmanship of the governor of Kaduna, Nasiru El-Rufai. It has like 6 state governors and some of us in the NWC and former senators and very prominent people, men and women across this country. That was the first major step we are taking towards articulating the real meaning of restructuring, yes. Not only as it means to our party, but also as being canvassed in different parts of the country. Let me say that when this issue started a couple of years ago, you can also see that it also opened the space for a lot of opportunism. People who were in power in the past and never talked about restructuring suddenly became advocates of restructuring, right? Even to the extent that even now, there are so many people who are looking for an agenda to pursue and are now free riding on restructuring because it has become a political currency. So if you are able to, if you are speaking the language of restructuring, whether you understand what it means or not, whether you understand the implications or not to the polity, then people will listen to you. They say, "Oh, this one knows what he's talking about."
I just to quickly take you back. When you have Governor Nasiru El-Rufai as chairing a committee that will help government to harvest from Nigerians on redefining or defining what really Nigerians are talking about. Many people were taken aback. Somebody who tweeted and said he didn't believe in restructuring, Nigeria didn't need the restructuring, is the one chairing your committee to galvanize. It's a fait accompli for so many Nigerians. They already say, we already have the answer down, let us just work towards it. And you also need to quickly respond to the allegation that that committee came up as a result of pressure from everybody.
I mean, I think is, with due respect, presumptuous to say that what is contained in our manifesto came about because of pressure from everybody. I don't think it's exactly correct to say that.
Maybe the timing.
The timing. Look, there's never a good time or a bad time to do what you promised to do. You see, I keep emphasizing one point, that the manifesto of a political party is not the same thing as a government program.
Yeah.
The manifesto of a political party is the ground norms for running the party. It's a ground norms for running the party. Like PDP had its manifesto for 16 years, but that didn't stop President Yar'Adua from having his 7-point agenda. And I am sure that what you have as 7-point agenda, President Yar'Adua, was not everything contained in the PDP manifesto. Yeah. President Goodluck Jonathan had his transformation agenda. And I'm sure I was in that government. What is contained in President Goodluck Jonathan's transformation agenda was not everything that is contained in PDP manifesto. Now, you have the APC manifesto that promises restructuring, because the essence of APC's restructuring is how to get governance closer to the people. Yeah. That is the entire idea. How to get governance closer to the people and thereby increasing the efficiency of government in a way that it has real impacts on the life of the ordinary person. You know, so President Buhari came, he promised 3 things essentially. 1, he was going to fight Boko Haram. 2, he was going to fight corruption. 3, he was going to tackle the economy and all that. And you will agree with me that he has the right, just like President Jonathan had his transformation agenda, you know, but we as a political party, we are leading the charge because we were the one who promised Nigerians, right? It may take us 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Even 8 years.
Even 8 years, or even 10 years. No, because look, if it was so easy to implement this, the question we should have asked ourselves, these questions didn't start today. These agitations, in fact, precedes Nigeria's independence. Yeah, you're right? Correct. That's so correct. If we haven't done it up till this day, 60-something,
expected to just jump to
and start doing it in 2 years. I think we also be a little bit fair. I mean, if we had 60 years of independence and we are still asking these questions, and you say, oh, because APC promised in the manifesto. APC promised it in the manifesto because APC had a fundamental recognition that everything is not right with the status quo, and it needs to be fixed. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari, even in his last address 3 days ago, said he acknowledged that there are issues.
Yes.
Right? And that's why he said, that's why we have the National Assembly and the National Council of States. So even the work we are doing now can only be given credence through the National Assembly and the National Council of States.
So are we expecting the APC government to forward something to the National Assembly with regard to some changes, devolution of power, that whatever way restructuring, are we expecting that when the National Affairs Committee finish sitting and they are going to come up and that within the life of this administration, the party is likely to have a government that will say, okay, we have found this, the National Assembly, please take. Are we expecting that?
Certainly, because you see, the original driving force for the committee, because people say, oh, why did it was pressure? No. What we found was that it's in our manifesto. But if you look at our manifesto, you only find about 5 lines referring to the issue of restructuring. You have it on page 3, on page 29, and on page 37, making references to restructuring. Now, this needs to be articulated. What does it mean? So that all party members can have a shared understanding. Because what we find is that when people say restructuring, you find people firing from different angles. We don't even know what it means. We don't even know what it means anymore.
That's APC should have defined it to say this is what we think is the
So that's what we are doing. Okay. That's what we are doing. Let's define it. And you see, another critical element was that we are taking on board the Constitutional Conference report of 2014.
Yes.
We are taking on board the Constitutional Conference of 2005.
All the various
reports, that dialogue that have happened. And we are distilling them. And a critical section of our demography is the youth population. They are in the majority. But the youth population was never part of those conversations. So part of what we are doing now is how do we bring their voice on board?
Yeah.
So because the country belongs to them even more than it belongs to us.
Yeah, because actually that is sad. That's the normal thing.
So they must have a voice in this conversation, and that's part of what we are doing. When you see us rolling out this plan, it's part of what we are doing, and we are
get everybody to be
on the same page.
Okay, I would want you to hold on. It's time to take a look again at some other comments. How do you run a good government? Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Dayo Adeyeye, in this soundbite, does some comprehensive analysis of the PDP leadership at the center and the current leadership of the APC. I will ask Mallam Bolaji Abdullahi to listen, because I will ask some of my last questions to come from the statements from Adeyeye. Let's hear him out.
Because Nigerians rejoiced with us when we won at the Supreme Court. Nigerians wanted, they remember with nostalgia the good era of the PDP when we were in power. And they now compare that with what they are going through now, the suffering they are going through. And Nigerians are yearning for a return of the PDP government to power. And why would they not do that? Why would they not do that? When we were leaving government, we left a robust economy, the largest economy in the whole of Africa. That was what we handed over to the APC government, and in less than 6 months, 1 year, they squandered the whole thing and took Nigeria down. I don't even know whether we're up to number 10 now in the whole of Africa. This government, when we were leaving government in 2015, the exchange rate was about 160 to $1, 160 naira to $1. Today, what is it? At one time, it went to 500. Now it's about 360 or 370. Exactly. So and that has fueled inflation all over. Industries have collapsed. They are collapsing. Investment has dried. Foreign investment has dried up. The economy has been contracting every quarter since 2015. We have never had it so bad, even since independence. This is the worst era as far as the economy of Nigeria is concerned. And if you go to even the issue of security that the APC government have been touting, they have been trying to beat their chest that they have succeeded in the area of security, quenching the Boko Haram menace. My simple question to them was that even in the area of fighting insurgency, we had virtually cleared Boko Haram before we left government. Nigerians, they think that we are all suffering from collective amnesia. No. Go back memory lane. We had election in every local government of Borno and Yobe State in 2015. How was that possible? Boko Haram was everywhere. If Boko Haram had actually taken over all the wards, all the local government, all the towns and villages of Borno, as they give us in their narrative nowadays, how was it possible for us to hold the election in every nook and cranny of Borno, Yobe, Adamawa State in 2015?
Dayo Adeyeye, the spokesperson for the PDP, firing the salvo there, that it has never been that bad, that what we have today is a celebration of the failures, and that it's a drawback from what the PDP had achieved in the past. You want to quickly react to that?
It's actually very funny, seriously, because I don't know why the PDP seem to think that Nigerian history started in 2015 and that nothing happened. That period before 2015, we should forget it has gone. We should not make reference to it anymore. It has no bearing on whatever is happening now. Nigeria shut down in 2015 and we started a new country in 2015. I mean, I don't want to even go into, because the reason I said I'm not going to do it, because sometimes we have to know that some things transcend politics. Yeah. Something is also about integrity, it's about respect for other people. I mean, he was trying to rubbish the issue of Boko Haram. I mean, how could you explain that in this same country under PDP, Boko Haram entered a hostel and slaughtered 59 boys in their bed?
In Gobe, I think that happened.
In Buniyadi. Yeah. let Prince Adeyeye go to Buni Yadi and tell the parents of these boys that Buhari hasn't done anything for Nigeria. The town of Buni Yadi was almost empty. At the time that we were preparing for the election in 2015, estimated 55,000 square kilometers of Nigerian territory was effectively in the hands of Boko Haram. That Boko Haram had its flags planted. It was estimated at the time that that was the size of Belgium. Today, how much of Nigerian territory is in the hands of Boko Haram? Zero. This same government, this same party that Prince Adeyeye was now trumpeting as the savior of Nigeria, it was under that same party that about 300 boys were. How did that happen? The Chibok girls. Yeah. And not only that were they abducted, the party actually denied that it happened. They actually denied that it happened.
Okay, let me save you the I think the public they listen, they watch, and everybody understands.
No, I mean, but when you say Nigerians are missing, I mean, they are missing PDP.
Now, just as we wrap up, there are some problems. I don't know how fair it is, but it should be fair to you because you are the ones who should pay the bill. Some of our colleagues, newspapers. Why is APC owing? They cannot pay. They will take. The party that is running this government, they cannot buy diesel. in their.
No, that's not true. We can buy diesel.
We can buy diesel. You can buy diesel.
Yes, we can buy diesel. We've overcome that.
Okay. You call journalists and say, put this advert out for me. To the extent that very, very, very respectable editors who ordinarily don't know how to be shouting that their salaries are being deducted because their companies have philosophies and policies of not taking adverts on credit.
You see,
have you paid? Let me first of all.
No, I think we've started paying. The last time I checked, I think we started paying.
Is the money so big that you started paying? That
I've just told you the situation that we have found ourselves. Maybe if we're doing things the way the other party was doing it, also would not even happen.
Okay.
You understand?
Using government.
Yeah, you understand. But we've started paying. But the issue is this. Let me admit that it is wrong for us not to have paid for those adverts within the period that they were not paid for. Some of these things were backlogged over the last 2 years or so. But
what of salaries of
no, we don't have problems with salaries.
You have cleared out all you were because
we are not owing. Well, you see, people just exaggerate some of this thing. Then another thing, this one, another thing. Let me tell you, even some of these adverts. I'm not saying it justifies no payment. Sometimes I'm a journalist. I understand how this works. When an event happened and something happened, they keep calling me, okay, you want to pay adverts? But I bear in mind that we have not paid for some. I say, no, let me just write a letter to this person celebrating. They'll say, no, okay, don't worry, just place the adverts. You understand? Don't worry. You understand? I remember one, I said, no, we're not going to pay. They went and waylaid the chairman in one state. And they called me and said, the chairman said we should place the adverts. You see? So, but I'm the one that go, but that's why we will pay. Tell me to beg them, we will pay.
It's good that they are hearing you. They are hearing you. You are talking on the record that you will pay, and it should be paid soon. I think there's a new dawn in Nigeria, particularly with party formation. We have 46 political parties in Nigeria, and all that Nigerians are asking is for internal democracy in the political parties. Like you rightly said, let party members subscribe, and they should have the incentive that when they go out to vote, their voice is also noted and they can own the party rather than expecting that one senator or one governor is the owner of the party. Bolaji Abdullahi, Mallam, we call him, journalist par excellence, former minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and now the National Publicity Secretary of the ruling APC, All Progressives Congress. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
And that's how we do it on the program. People, Politics, and Power. We bring in people who can help us shape the future of Nigeria, work for our unity, make sure that Nigeria is equitable, there's justice, and all of us have a sense of belonging in a society that brings prosperity across the land. My name is Okiri Agbonsurumi. We'll come back in another 24 hours with another edition of the program. Please do stay with Africa Independent Television. And thanks for staying with us.